Uh, Thank you so much for sticking around. My name is Trey Shields. I am the senior programmer of the Philadelphia Film Festival, and I am so happy to introduce the two co-directors of My Little Sister. We have Stéphanie Chuat, and then we also have Véronique Reymond. So I'm sure you've done a number of Q&A, Zooms, conversations so far. But of course, I really want to know, what's the origin of the story? Why tell the story, and why twins?
So yeah, we love to write stories. We love to make movies, and Stéphanie and I are friends for so many years now. We've known each other since we were 10 years old, and we were at school together, and we shared this passion for theater very early, actually, and we both were formed as actresses, and this is our background. Actually, we are really coming from theater, and we thought it would be great to make a movie, I would say, about this relationship, this so special and unique relationship we share, Stéphanie and I, and this common creative place that we share also, that is completely unique when you have someone with whom you can share a whole imaginary world, and you know, when this person goes forever, this word, this specific word, will also go forever. And this is maybe the starting point of this twin relationship. So we kind of transferred it into twin, real, from the same family, same blood, but it comes from our, I would say, specific relationship.
So was the core of the story always going to be about a playwright and an actor because of your background?
No, actually, the story developed in several layers. It really has several layers. The first point was that we discovered Nina Hoss in Barbara from Christian Petzold, and we just loved her acting, and we thought we would love to make a movie with her. So we had this idea, and then we come from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, but we were intrigued to how is it to work with non-French-speaking actors. So we started to imagine a story taking place in a boarding school in the Swiss mountains, where we are now. We are Véronique and I in the Swiss mountains, and about the wife of a director of one of these schools. And we imagined Nina Hoss being there. So we started to develop this part of the story. And then we were once in Berlin in 2015, and we ran by chance into Nina Hoss in a shop. So it was really a destiny like that, placing Nina on our road. So we thought we have to talk to her. And very spontaneously, we went to her and we said, "Hi, we are Swiss filmmakers. We are writing a movie for you. Do you have time for a quick coffee?" And she was really nice. She called us back 3 days later, and the quick coffee lasted for 3 hours. And during these 3 hours, she told us about her background, and we realized we had this theater common background, and that's where all these theater aspects come from. We were really inspired by this, and it also happens that we know the Schaubühne, we know Lars Heidinger, and we know Thomas Ostermeyer from our actresses background. We've known Thomas since 20 years, and that's why everything got very naturally into the story. So we had then these two poles, like the boarding school and the theater world.
And so you're writing for a different language, but a majority of the film, or a strong portion of the film, takes place in Switzerland. So did you have to rely on Nina Hoss and the other German actors on their experiences being in a different location?
Yeah, I would say that it was, I have the feeling that we were in a specific world, and we had to shoot first in Berlin and then in Switzerland, and all the shooting was so much about the story and what was happening between those characters, because it's really a characters-driven story, that I don't have the feeling that we needed them to fit into the Swiss mountains and this. It was more a world in itself in this specific set. And this is very much the specificity of expats in Switzerland, actually. because most of these people, they come from all over the world, and they always talk English in our Swiss mountains. They don't talk French, and they sometimes talk German, but most of the time they talk English. And it's very interesting to have this specificity of Nina Hoss. She's not Swiss, and she comes from Germany in the Swiss mountains. It's a kind of strange vacation feeling, but it's not vacation. And we love to experience this with her, actually, to talk about this beautiful place, because our Swiss mountains are just magnificent, but she doesn't feel right there. It's not her place, it's not her milieu, as we say. And it was very interesting to work on this, about this with her. And when we were in the boarding school with her, at one point, because we had many scenes in that boarding school, and she was a teacher and she's teaching a lot. And after one day of teaching, she was like, my God, I don't feel, I don't like it here. I don't feel at ease. And it was exactly the feeling of the character, actually.
Now, do you think a lot of expats in Switzerland feel this sense of otherness? Or is it because everyone is an expat, you don't as much?
I would say it's more, often when people move in another country, it's because one of the two of the couple has a job there. So one will be very busy because he arrives in a new environment, and the other one is kind of following with or without family or children. And the other one has to find his or her place. In our case, it's Liza. It could be the reverse. It's more often the man, but it could also be, of course, the woman and the wife. So I think it's not for everyone, because the one who has the job is excited with new adventures. Of course, there is an adaptation to another culture. Germany to Switzerland is not such a big difference, but people who go to live in Asia or even in the States, when you come from Europe, the States is pretty different. Actually, it's really, when you spend some time there, you can really feel cultural differences. So I think it's maybe more for the people who comes with their husband or wife. And we know that in Switzerland, there are many expats who got depressed after a while because they have this sense of, what am I doing here? Where are my roots? They have no roots. They have to create their roots. So yeah, we've heard of cases like that in Switzerland. And actually we sometimes, this is more personal, but we sometimes feel like that in our own country as artists maybe, or sometimes we feel we need to, get out of these mountains, or especially now with the COVID-19.
Yeah, I mean, besides the cultural differences, just the choice of locations, because Berlin is a very populated city. You're on top of each other. And then you go to the Switzerland scenes with the expansive ranges, the Alps. Was it always the key moment for Sven when he's hang gliding? Is that kind of a symbolicness of being, I guess, in this big wide open space that he's not used to, and it's this foreign area and it's overwhelming? Was that always going to be the part where he gets very sick, or how did that come about?
Yeah, we were pretty sure that would be, we say, the kind of climax for him, because it's the top of the mountain, as we say, and then boom, and we are there, and it's beautiful, and it's let's say we used the landscape to express his need of eternity, and maybe of life, to feel life once more before really going to the other side of the sickness, and really having to go inside this very difficult world of pain, and to go to his end somehow. But still, the journey is not over, but it's a moment there. I want to feel life very much. And when you paraglide, I've never paraglided, Stéphanie did once. I guess it's a feeling completely, you can talk about it, just talk about it. Stéphanie, what do you think about this feeling of paragliding?
Yes, it's true. I think I did it nearly 20 years ago, and more than 20 years ago, actually, maybe. And it's still there. It was in winter, so like in the movie, but we were on ski. So you ski and suddenly you are in the air. And I could see the chamois, these mountain goats. And and I still remember this feeling, and also the wind, very light wind, and what I could see, I felt so free. And it's true, it's a very, very unique physical sensation I never had since.
Yep. And I want to talk a little bit now about the more like the filmmaking side of things, because you have your stage background and theater background. A lot of the scenes, especially the ones with at the mother's home at her apartment, that feels very much blocked like a theater, like a stage, the way they like move around each other. Was that intentional, or is that just a natural thing to kind of happen with your background?
It's interesting because most of these scenes were shot when you say one shot scene, the plan séquence, and maybe this is the reason why you have the feeling of theater. We love to make very long scenes with our actors, and these are long scenes and with lot of stuff going on in one scene and different intentions in one scene. But our chance there, our luck is really that to have theater people acting on not on stage but on the set for us, and we give them a lot to do, and the camera, that's not theater, is really dancing with them in these scenes, and it's very movie. I would say it's moving all the time but they have to, our actors have really challenges because they have many different things to express in one scene, one long scene, and we loved to make these very long scenes, and that's maybe the reason why you have this feeling of theater there.
It was very impressive. I believe the first like 6-7 minutes of the film has no actual dialogue. Can you talk about the reason behind that? Because the visual clues and storytelling was so powerful there.
Yeah, actually there was one scene when they were in the taxi and they would see a woman on the phone and start to imagine her life, which is things that Véronique and I often do when we are together. We can always create a story out of anything. I guess like many authors, we are inspired by everything we see. And then we realize that their bond is so strong when you see them together. And this you can only see when you see actors acting. So when we were in the editing room, I think we edited this scene, but then we cut it out because we thought it's stronger when they just don't talk, because they are so amazing actors. You feel the connection between them 10 times more than if they were talking. And it's also something that we have in our relation with Véronique, because we sometimes, now we are not in the same room, but if we would be in the same room, for example, who will answer which question, we would just feel the other one. And of course, there is one question for you, one for me, one for you, one for me, like this, but still there is this sense of the other that we have, which is so strong. We don't need to talk. And we, yeah, the beginning of the movie without any dialogues, and even they start talking together really after 10 minutes, after the scene when she's outside with the stage director, when they go out of the second cab. So the dialogue between the two of them is even later. And yeah, we thought it would really give this sense of closeness between the two of them.
Yeah, and Sven's like first line, just his appearance coming out on stage with that kind of bravado, but trying to fight the sickness, and it's there. It works so well. It was like a genius choice for the two of you. So thank you for that. But speaking of the stage, I thought about it a little bit, but I figured I'd just rather you guys tell me. Is there a reason behind Hamlet as the kind of center play that Sven is obsessed with, like, re-performing?
Yeah, actually, Lars Eidinger is really acting Hamlet in Thomas Ossermeyer's Hamlet scenery, stage direction. And so it's for us, it was very interesting really to have the reality so close to our fiction. We wanted to play with these borders, with this, and we wanted this, but also the fact that we know that Hamlet is the most powerful, I would say, one of the characters that every actor would love to act, because it's so difficult, so long, so heavy, and you are talking with the death, also your dead father, and something is very much close to our story, even if he's not talking to his dad. our character is very close to death and knows it and has to, I would say, apprivoiser la mort, to get close to death and try to, I would say, get friend with her. We say apprivoiser somehow. There is this very thin connection between I know I have to go and it's so hard to leave the world, and also the fact that an actor feels alive only on stage. And this is something we really wanted to share and to give this sensation also of being alive on stage. And when an actor is not acting, he's like dead. This is something that I cannot say that I experienced it because we are also writers and now directors, and we have those other, I would say, fields of creation. But an actor who's not acting, it's so painful to live like. And now with COVID-19, it's really an issue for many actors who cannot act and feel like trapped in their homes, and it's very difficult. So that I would say it's a combination between Hamlet, this so huge character, huge role, and also this vulnerability of being just a human being behind.
Now, I feel like both of the twins had this vulnerability and kind of had parallel experiences, even though they're not exactly the same, but they have like what's holding them back. And was that intentional? Because one is a little more extreme with the illness, but this writer's block and this being stuck in Switzerland, was that intentional to have kind of like a parallel experience for them?
Yeah, actually, the whole story is about how he will stay alive through her and bring her back to life with her own creation. So it's really this communication between the two of them. So they both, as characters, need to have obstacles or things. And he's facing his own end, and she's facing her living writer inside her. Or I don't know how to express that, but I don't know, Véronique, how would you express that?
Yes, she's, as you say, she's blocked in her life, and he's not blocked. That's why they are so complementary, because he really lived his life as an actor. He's famous, he's beloved, and he really could express himself. And I would say it's more like les vases communicants. They have this complementary journey, and he's blocked by illness, but she's blocked by inner, I would say, des barrières intérieures. Comment on dit des barrières? And
Barrier,
barriers, and he has to help her getting rid of all these barriers, and even knowing that he's at his own end, it's an emergency for him to help her. And that's why it's so important. That's why I don't see parallel stories, but I more see complementary stories and helping each other. And he has to help her to live without him. Actually, this is really his goal is really to feel that he can leave her, he can die, but she won't die. She will live. She will survive his death. And this is the whole journey for him. And the whole journey for her is really to go back to her creativity.
But actually, she's blocked, as he says, since she has learned of the diagnosis for him being sick. So her block is also connected to his illness. So they have the same issue with the block is the same cause, but not the same consequence.
Was there ever a draft of the script where it was role reversals? I mean, I know Lars Eininger is Hamlet. He's an actor, a stage actor. So was that always locked in, or did they switch roles ever? Was your Nina Haas character going to play the one who's terminally ill?
No, she was always the wife of the director in the Swiss boarding school. Yeah. Because it started with her, really. He arrived later in the process. So.
And then when it came to the editing, was it difficult to find a balance on the focus between the two characters? Because I would say it's mostly from her perspective, because you see her first, it's her journey, and but it is complementary. Did you find it difficult balancing the two?
the whole editing process was difficult. It was extremely difficult to find the balance with everything, with because there are, as Stephanie says, many layers, and everything has to come to light, but at its right moment, and that's why it was very difficult. But at one point, for example, our shiny actor Lars Eidinger, he was just so brilliant and shiny that we had to put the focus more on her at one point, because it's her story, as you said, it's her journey. His journey is kind of more simple somehow. He has to fight against terrible sickness, and he has to fight because he wants so badly to be on stage again, despite the sickness. But her journey is so more complicated because she has to go back to her roots and to rebirth, to be reborn, kind of. And this is a very, very tough journey I would say, to edit, and to also, because for us it was so important that nobody is bad or nobody is right. Nobody is the wrong guy or the bad guy. Even the husband is not the bad guy. He just has other ambitions for his own life and for his own family. They don't have the same ambition somehow, or the same desires. And that was the big balance to find, to make sure that everyone is kind of deserving its place there.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because Sven's illness, as a viewer, you get that. You're like, okay, they're sick. But with Liza's, it's much more of this kind of abstract journey, this understanding of, or trying to like, how to present it visually and through the scripts, or this like internal issue. But you guys did a great job with that. So good. So I'm gonna wrap it up, but I always like to ask, because I'm sure you've been doing a lot of Zoom calls. Sometimes they can be stimulating or awkward, but is there something that you really wanted to share about this film that you really haven't been asked about, or something you just want to touch upon?
I would say that there is hope in this movie, and this is for us. Okay, one of our twins has to go, but still, life is stronger and love is stronger, and it's a love story, but between twin brother sister, but it still is a love story. Really.
Cool. Well, what's the future of the film, and what is the future for your collaboration and your projects?
Well, we are very excited because the movie is the Swiss contender for the Best International Feature in the Oscars campaign. So we are really happy that this movie has been chosen, because, as Véronique said, this topic has something universal, especially maybe in this period where we can't connect physically with people, but the connections can exist on other ways. And this movie for us brings a lot of what we hope or think about connection, how you are connected with people you love, even if you can't be together, which is exactly what happens in the film. And so voila, the journey for this film is this. And also it just has been released in Switzerland, and it went pretty well despite all the restrictions. You know, people wearing masks. It was really a mess, but people came in the theaters. So we had this great experience to see real people, and this was amazing. And then for our collaboration, I don't know, Véronique, do you want to speak about it?
But I would say also that there is a release in Germany, and we are very happy about it, because the COVID situation is really, really dramatic for the industry. We all know it, but still we have this little baby, my little sister, and it's born, it's there, and it's going to be in the movies. It's going to be also in the US released, and we are just following it, and we are very grateful that that people are sharing this new adventure with us.
And also that it's in Philadelphia. I've never been there, and I would personally just love to be there. And I miss traveling, and really thanks for selecting it, because it's the first time we have a movie in your festival, and it's starting something in the US. Let's see where it goes. And our next project, one of the next, because we're several things, several pots on the fire, because with the pandemic, you have to be very reactive and creative. It's a series called Toxic, takes place in Switzerland and speaks about a mysterious contamination of the Geneva Lake. So yeah, we are in a kind of anticipated reality that is not so anticipated anymore with all what's happening.
Well, that's great. Well, hopefully we get to see that film in Philly next, and you guys can join us. But thank you so much for being here today, and thank you to the audience for sticking around and enjoying My Little Sister.
Thank you, and hello from Switzerland.